Let me tell you something about being 65 in America. People stop seeing you. They see the gray hair, the soft hands, the comfortable shoes. They don't see the fire. My name is Britney Caldwell. I'm 67 years old, and 3 years ago, the people I trusted most stole every single dollar I had set aside for retirement. Not a scam from overseas, not some fake prince in Nigeria. My own business partners. And baby, they thought I was too old to fight back. It happened on a Tuesday. Rainy, miserable, one of those days where your bones ache before the storm hits. I walked into Caldwell Logistics headquarters like I had done for 32 years. 32! That company was my blood. I started it in 1991 with 2 delivery trucks and a folding table in a garage. I missed birthdays. I missed vacations. I worked while my husband was dying of pancreatic cancer. I signed contracts from hospital waiting rooms. And when he passed, I buried him on a Friday and signed a $4.2 million distribution deal on Monday. That company was supposed to be my security, my peace, my retirement. But when I stepped into that boardroom that morning, something felt off. Too quiet, too polite. Ethan, my CFO, 39, MBA from Wharton, smiled too much. Marla, my COO, 42, yoga retreat, fake spiritual energy, snake in designer heels. And Greg, the family lawyer. Family my ass. They all stood when I walked in, and that's when I knew. When people stand up for you like you're fragile, they've already decided you're disposable. Brittany, Ethan said gently, like I was about to hear bad medical news, we need to discuss restructuring. Restructuring, corporate America's favorite word for betrayal. I sat down slow, crossed my legs, took my glasses off. Restructuring what? I asked. Greg slid a stack of papers toward me, and I swear to God, I felt my stomach drop before I even read it. My retirement trust. Gone. Transferred. Due to market volatility, Marla said smoothly, the board voted to consolidate your shares into executive management. Executive management, meaning them. Meaning I no longer had majority control, meaning my retirement fund, the shares I had carefully placed into a protected trust, had been legally absorbed into corporate holdings. In short, they played paperwork chess while I trusted them, and they won. Or so they thought. Are you saying, I said slowly, that my 28% controlling interest has been diluted? Silence. Ethan cleared his throat. Technically, yes. Technically. That word again. I felt something crack inside me. Not fear, not sadness. Clarity. They had been planning this for months, maybe longer. All those, let us handle it, Brittany. All those, you deserve to relax. They weren't protecting me. They were isolating me. And in that moment, I realized something very important. They didn't steal my money because they needed it. They stole it because they thought I was done. I stood up, slow, calm. You know what? I said. I'm tired anyway. Relief flooded their faces. Actual relief. Ethan even smiled. That smile, that's the one I still remember. I grabbed my purse, walked out, and that was the day they thought they buried me. They had no idea I had buried men twice their size. That night, I didn't cry. I poured bourbon, neat, sat in my late husband's old leather chair and read every single document they gave me. And here's the thing about being 67. You've seen every trick before. They used a clause from 2009, a clause I personally insisted on during expansion. It allowed temporary share consolidation during executive risk mitigation events. Back then, it protected us from hostile takeovers. Now, they labeled my age a risk factor. They argued cognitive decline potential. Oh, they didn't say it directly, but it was implied. Subtle, legal, vicious. They didn't just take my money, they questioned my mind. That was their mistake. At 2:14 a.m., I made a phone call to someone they didn't know existed. Daniel Ruiz, forensic accountant, former SEC investigator. I hired him 10 years ago when we suspected internal embezzlement. He found the thief in 2 weeks. I kept his number, because paranoia isn't crazy when you're rich, it's preparation. Danny, I said when he picked up. Who am I ruining? Pause. Who am I ruining? He asked. I smiled for the first time that day. 3 executives who think I'm senile. He laughed. I'll be there in the morning. Within 72 hours, we found it. Offshore accounts, shell companies, consulting fees routed through Cayman subsidiaries. Not illegal on the surface, but greedy. Too greedy. They had been slowly siphoning company performance bonuses for 18 months. And guess what? They needed my shares to cover the exposure. Without majority control, they couldn't block an audit. Without blocking an audit, they'd be indicted. They didn't just steal my retirement, they stole it to protect themselves. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. See, revenge is best served strategic. If I reported them immediately, they'd lawyer up, we'd fight for years. But if I did something smarter, I could own everything. I liquidated personal assets, quietly. 3 properties, 2 classic cars, half my art collection. People thought I was downsizing, retiring. They had no idea I was loading ammunition. Then I started buying, silently. Minority shares, through proxies, through shell LLCs, through a Delaware holding company named Silver Lantern Group. They didn't recognize the pattern because they never imagined I'd fight. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Emergency board meeting, they called it. Ethan looked pale. Marla didn't make eye contact. Greg avoided me entirely. Britney, Ethan said carefully, we've noticed unusual market activity. I leaned back in my chair. Have you? Danny slid a folder across the table. Share acquisition breakdown, ownership map. And at the bottom, Silver Lantern Group, 31%. Combined with my remaining 12% personal holdings, 43%. Add in 2 nervous investors I had already convinced to flip sides. I now held 51%, majority control. Marla's face drained of color. That's impossible, she whispered. I tilted my head. You taught me about consolidation, sweetheart. Then I did something they never saw coming. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I called for a forensic audit, full transparency, off-retroactive review of executive compensation, offshore activity, everything. Greg tried to object. I cut him off. You work for the board, I said calmly, and I am the board. 3 months later, Ethan was indicted for financial misrepresentation. Marla resigned for personal reasons. Greg lost his license. The SEC investigation uncovered far more than I even knew. They weren't just stealing from me. They were manipulating supplier contracts, defrauding investors, using company funds for personal real estate. And me? I didn't just get my retirement back. I restructured the entire company. New ethics division, new leadership, profit sharing for long-term employees. And guess who stepped back into CEO position? Temporarily, of course, just until things stabilized. People think revenge is about anger. It's not. It's about correction. They thought I was old. They thought I was tired. They thought grief had softened me. But here's the truth. You don't survive cancer wards, recession crashes, and 32 years in logistics by being fragile. You survive by being patient. And when you're patient long enough, you don't just win, you own the board. 6 months after the takeover, I hosted a company-wide meeting. I stood at the podium, gray hair, pearl necklace, red blazer, and I said, never mistake experience for weakness. The woman you tried to retire built the ground you're standing on. The room stood up, not because I was fragile, because I was powerful. And every single quarter since, we've doubled growth. Not because of revenge, because of discipline. But I won't lie. Watching them escorted out in handcuffs, that was satisfying. They stole my retirement fund, so I took their company. And baby, I'm not retiring anytime soon.